Hello everyone! I have a really interesting technique that I want to show you today to dress up your work. It's called Sgraffito. What is Sgraffito? Sgraffito is an Italian word derived from the word graffiare, meaning to scratch. This is a technique usually used in pottery, but all it means is to scratch through a surface to reveal a lower layer of contrasting color. All right, let's get started. First thing I just want to show you is this technique all on its own. So we're going to use some oil pastels, and I'm going to just kind of color down a little bit of oil pastel with some lighter colors. So you want to press when you're doing this. Make sure that you don't have any of the white of the paper showing when you're doing your coloring. So whatever project you're doing this on, you want to make sure it's solid and you're not seeing the white of the paper through here. Make a solid surface to start with. Then all you have to do is use a dark color on the top. I like to use black. You can use a dark blue, something that is a dark color. And you do want to kind of go light on this. You don't want to press too hard. So I'm not mushing the two colors together or blending the colors together. I'm just going over the top and glazing the top of this. You want a good coat of this, so you may want to just kind of change your direction a little bit. Then I'll just show you a little bit of the dark blue. And remember, don't press. You're not going to blend this together. You don't want to blend it together. As long as you have a good coating of the top color, you're good to go. The tools that I like to use as a scratch tool are these metal edge tools. On the bottom, it has a little ball. Now I'm going to look at my pattern bank, and this gives you ideas of lots of different patterns that you can do on top of the section that you want to enhance. So I am going to kind of pick something where it's a tight pattern. You don't want to have something that's too spread out. So I'm going to do some shapes and then shapes within it. And again, you want this to be kind of tight. And what's going to happen, I always have a paper towel next to me, is you're going to pick up some of that oil pastel and it's going to stick. So you want to kind of wipe off. So again, you want it really close together. If it is further apart, or if you're just kind of scribbling, it actually makes it look like scribbles on your paper. So be careful. Choose some sort of cool pattern, even if it's just lines real close together and then they're switching the direction and going the other way. You just want to make sure that you have some really interesting spots on your work and to enhance it. Okay, so that's the technique. Now, I've got a little inspiration for you. I was thinking about what could make kind of a cool abstract project with little spots of this in it, not the whole thing. So I thought about Picasso and how he draws his faces kind of in different ways. This is a project that I think you can use this Sgraffito in different little spots to just completely enhance it. So let's try this. The first thing we're going to do is a border around the edge of our paper. So Picasso is kind of funky, so we could do a border that is very straight, or we can do a border that's a little funky. You can kind of think to yourself, do you want something just drawn in there, or do you want something that's done with straight edges and a ruler? I'm going to start with this type of border. I've got my pencil, and I'm going to think of using large shapes and spaces only. I'm going to design a face, kind of in the inspiration of Picasso. We're going to think about all the parts of the face only, no body. Think eyes, nose, mouth, eyebrows, lashes, cheeks, ears, possibly some hair, and minor accessories. Use the entire space of the paper. Shapes should overlap in some areas, although overlap shapes still must be large. Make sure that your spaces are not too small. We are going to be using oil pastels, and they're blunt. They don't have points like our pencils do. All right, so let's get started. And I'm going to start with the center of the face. So I'm going to start with the nose. And I'm just going to kind of draw a large shape. Like that. And maybe a nostril on the side. Make sure when you're overlapping the space that you have a large space still. You don't want to have a small little space if you're overlapping. Okay, now let's do a nice eye somewhere. Remember, nice large shapes. I'm going to draw almost like a football shape. And then features. So think of an eye lid. Let's get in a pupil or an iris, whatever you want. And let's do some eyelashes. And if you do eyelashes, you want to have nice big eyelashes and spaces in between too. So this is more of kind of an abstract type of design rather than really a face. I mean, there's a face in there and it's nice to see the face, but you just want to have these big, large spaces. All right, so I've got one eye. Let's do a mouth. And I'm going to have a mouth down here, kind of like peak for a little lips. I'm going to go right off and I actually do like to sometimes go right off into the border. So you're like busting out of the border, and make sure that that space is nice and big though. You don't want to have that tiny little shape there. Okay, I've got lips like that. All right, and let's do another big eye down here. Eyelid, iris or pupil. I will do a couple of eyelashes, and I'm going to have some that kind of come down this way. Why not? Because I think I'm kind of balancing the space by doing that. And again, they can either bust out or stop at the line. Let's have one of these bust out at the line, because that's kind of cool when that happens. All right, one more. And make sure your spaces are not too small. These are getting a little small. We got to be careful about that. Okay, so we've got eyes, nose, mouth. Let's do a nice big cheek. So I'm going to do a space for the cheek. And you can go through some other things or stop at the line. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to just have that stop right there. There's a cheek. And let's make some eyebrows. Remember, that space needs to be big. All right. And actually, I think that this is all I need. You could, if you wanted to, put some accessories. Like this one has an ear on the side. It's got some what looks like maybe earrings coming down. This one actually has a little bit of hair, so it depends on the space that you have. You just want to make sure that you just have a nice big area, okay? All right, now I do have a lot of background space going on here. So what I'm going to do is take a little straight edge and I am going to divide the space a little bit. So you can go through things or you can kind of stop. So I'm going to stop at some areas here because they're going to get too small if I go through. So I'll divide that space, and I see that this is one whole shape. Think of like one whole shape. All right, somewhere down here I'm going to divide the space. Maybe something like this. Okay, and I think that's about it for this one. So I don't really have a shape of a face in here. I might kind of want to do a little something like that. There we go. And that kind of looks like almost one side of a face. All right, so that's what I'm going to be working with. Nice big chunks of space. Now we color. Here are the rules for coloring this. I'm going to start with purple. And what makes purple, you've got your red and your blue. So these colors I'm going to take out. I'm going to start coloring the nose here, and I've got two shades of purple. They're very similar. I'm going to start with this one. And when I color, I only want to color a shape without going over the line. So this is a space. Right there, you have to stop. It's like a stop sign wherever you see a line. So this would be this shade of purple, and then you're going to stop. And remember, it has to be nice and solid. That color has to be down nice and solid. So once I have that line, this is all colored, and I'm stopping at the lines. If it's the same shape, the same object basically, so this is a nose, I want to continue purple on that color, but not the same shade. And you want to dust those off. Dust off those little crumbs a little bit. We can make a purple, and maybe instead of red and blue, we use pink and light blue. So it's a lighter color. And I'm just going to put this down. And you want to get right up to the edge of each line. Be careful when you're coloring. Don't go too fast. So now I have a different shade of purple there. I can either go back to the original purple, or you can do a different shade of purple there than this one. Think of different colors for different spaces. You can do all kinds of different color combinations. There we go. And a little trick that I do, I have these tools, any kind of flat tool. It can be really anything. This is a wood one. And I'm just going to take off that little extra that kind of got on the edge of my other green. There we go. It makes it nice and precise. So you can do that. That's just a little trick I use. This would be gone on the edge here. You take off that little extra. And eventually you're going to get something like this. So the last space that I'm going to color is this little area down here. Here's another little trick to keep the edge really precise, is to put a ruler right there. And then you color kind of against the ruler. So take your time when you're coloring. Make sure you have each space very nice and solid, really nice and solid, and make sure that you're right on the edge of each line when you're coloring. Then you're going to choose spaces around your piece to do the sgraffito. Make sure when you're choosing spaces, you do want to have some large spaces. They can't all be small spaces, and balance them throughout your piece. Some nice big spaces are going to be really dynamic. I think I'm going to do this green part because it's a bigger section, and I do like to have some big sections. So I'm going to go over the top. I'm going to glaze the top, basically. Graze it with the black. Now that that's all covered, I'm going to pick a nice design for my pattern to go into that section. And I really want it to stand out because this one stands out a lot. I want this one to stand out a lot too. So I think I'm going to pick the diamond pattern and just go ahead and start putting my diamonds down. Okay, I have the pattern down, and now I'm going to kind of fill in every other one. So I'm going to go down a line basically and make sure that that looks like a diamond. Okay, and that's the finished product. I did a little bit here and there, but I do have to tell you, the small spaces are very difficult to do, so make sure you're doing larger spaces and you are getting some good tight patterns in there. All right, I hope you enjoyed. Good luck, and I'll see you next time.